Welcome to the Human 5.0 Project, the podcast where we cut straight to the breakthroughs that matter, the show where science meets self-optimization. I'm your host, UltimateBiohacker 10X, and here we break down the real research, real data, and real dosing behind modern biohacking, from compounds and peptides to techniques, devices, lifestyle strategies, and performance protocols. Most people jump in and jump out before they get the gold, so we're keeping it tight and delivering the essential insights you need without the fluff. If you've taken the time to hit play, we'll make sure you walk away with valuable knowledge that can transform your approach to longevity, health optimization, and beyond. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Zone 2 has become a religion on podcasts, YouTube, Strava. People are nasal breathing, shuffle jogging, staring at their watch every 10 seconds, and acting like one easy session fixes their metabolism, their mitochondria, their endurance, their fat loss, their recovery, their longevity, and probably their childhood trauma. It does not. Zone 2 is useful. Zone 2 is important. Zone 2 is one of the best tools for building aerobic fitness with relatively low stress. But it is still a tool. Not a personality, not a badge of honor, not proof that you are smarter than the guy doing intervals. And if you're doing it wrong, which a lot of people are, you're not building an aerobic base. You're just accumulating slow miles with a side of self-deception. I'm UltimateBiohacker 10X with the Human 5.0 Project, and this is Zone 2 for Dummies. Let's fix it. But first, a disclaimer. This episode is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Training zones, heart rate targets, fueling strategies, recovery methods. They should always be adjusted to your training history, health status, and goals. If you've got a cardiovascular, metabolic, orthopedic, or respiratory condition, talk with a qualified clinician before making major changes to your training. Okay? Cool. Let's lock this one in. Today, we're talking about one of the most over-discussed, misunderstood, and misused training concepts in the entire endurance and performance world, Zone 2. Runners talk about it, Hyrox athletes talk about it, CrossFit athletes talk about it, longevity people talk about it, biohackers even talk about it. And somehow, after all that noise, most people still don't know what it actually is, how to find it, why it works, and where the hype goes completely off the rails. So, today, we're doing the Dummies version. Plain English, no fluff, no cult behavior, no fake precision. So let's make this simple. Zone 2 is a moderate, sustainable, aerobic intensity where you are working but not straining. In plain English, you're moving with purpose, your breathing is elevated, but you are still in control. You can usually still talk in full sentences, you are not casually strolling, and you're not redlining. You're in that middle zone where the body can keep going for a long time without flooding itself with fatigue. Here's the metaphor. Think of your aerobic system like a fireplace. Zone 2 is the steady burn. You feed it logs, the fire stays alive, the room warms up. It can run for a long time without burning the house down. Higher intensities are like throwing gas on the fire. Big flame, big output, very impressive. But if that's all you do, you burn through fuel, pile up fatigue, and you never build a stable fire. That is what Zone 2 is for. Zone 2 is not the goal. It is the steady burn that helps you build the base so higher intensity work actually has somewhere to land. People care about Zone 2 because it solves one of the most frustrating problems in training. The I'm always gassed problem. You start the run feeling okay, then the first hill hits and your heart rate launches into orbit. You get through the first round of a Hyrox event and your legs are gone. You do one hard CrossFit piece and you are toast for the next 2 hours. That usually means one of two things. Your engine is underdeveloped or your intensity distribution is a mess. Zone 2 matters because it helps build the engine. It can help you recover faster between efforts, hold pace longer, control breathing better, and do more total training without frying yourself. And this is especially useful if you're a runner, a Hyrox athlete, a CrossFit athlete, a cyclist, or just someone who wants better conditioning without turning every workout into a funeral. So let's cut through the hype and get to 3 things that actually matter. First, Zone 2 is useful, but the exact boundary is less clean than people think. The internet loves to pretend Zone 2 is one perfect heart rate number. It's not. Different people define it differently. Lactate, ventilatory thresholds, talk test, fixed percentages of max heart rate, watch algorithms, lab testing. But those don't always line up. That means the exact edge of Zone 2 is not some magical number your watch knows better than your own body. For most people, the best practical definition is you are working, but you can still hold a conversation in full sentences. That is close enough to get a real benefit. Second, Zone 2 helps aerobic development, but it is not the best at everything. This is where the internet gets weird. Zone 2 is great for building aerobic base, fat oxidation, submaximal endurance, and sustainable training volume. That part's real. But the idea that Zone 2 is the single best intensity for every adaptation, that's where the hype breaks. Higher intensities also matter. They can drive stronger signals for speed, top-end fitness, and certain mitochondrial adaptations, especially if your training time is limited. So the honest version is Zone 2 works. It's valuable. It is just not the only road to adaptation. Third, Zone 2 works best inside a bigger system. This is probably the most important point of this whole episode. High-level endurance athletes often do a lot of low-intensity work because it lets them accumulate volume without exploding their recovery. That's why Zone 2 matters. But those same athletes do not live there exclusively. They still use threshold work, hard intervals, race pace work, strength work, and sport-specific intensity. Because Zone 2 is the foundation, not the full house. Its superpower is not that it is magical. Its superpower is that it is one of the least fatiguing ways to build aerobic capacity. And that's why it belongs in the system. And we know that training in Zone 2 over time definitely builds up your VO2 max. That's proven. Now, let's talk about where people get played. First, thinking Zone 2 is one exact formula. 180 minus your age, 60 to 70% of max heart rate, whatever your watch says. Those are rough starting points, but they're not universal truth. If your watch says your Zone 2 tops out at 140, but you are clearly comfortable and conversational at 148, guess what? Yep, the watch, it's wrong. The watch does not know you. Second, nasal breathing trap. A lot of people now think if I can't breathe through my nose, it's not Zone 2. That's way too simplistic. Some people have narrow nasal passages. Some have a deviated septum. Some are congested. Some just don't tolerate nasal-only breathing, at least well, at effort. Nasal breathing can be a useful cue for some people, but it is not the law. Use the talk test, use perceived effort, and use heart rate as a guide. Don't make your nostrils the CEO of your training plan. Third, if it's not Zone 2, it's junk lie. This one's everywhere. Social media made this fake binary. Zone 2 equals smart, everything else equals junk. That is false. Threshold has value, intervals have value, speed has value. Zone 3 has value in the right context. The problem is not ever going above Zone 2. The problem is living in the middle all the time with no purpose. 4. The more Zone 2 is always better trap. Zone 2 is low fatigue. It is not zero fatigue. If you jump from 3 hours of training a week to 8 hours of easy training, that is still a giant increase in stress. Volume counts. You can absolutely overdo easy work. 5. Using Zone 2 as procrastination. This is a big one. Some people hide in easy cardio because it feels productive without asking much psychologically. That is not smart training. That is cardio avoidance with a science label. Okay, so let's forget the dogma. Here's our 80-20 protocol. Use the talk test first. You should be able to speak in full sentences. Not sing, not gasp. Talk. If you can say, I'm doing Zone 2 right now and this feels pretty sustainable, you're probably in the right neighborhood. Second, start with 2 to 3 sessions a week. For most people, 30 to 60 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week, conversational pace. Bike, incline walk, jog, row, ski erg, or easy conditioning circuit. If you are more experienced, that can scale up, but don't start with hero volume. 3, keep it truly sustainable. You should finish feeling like, I could have kept going, not, I survived. That difference matters. 4, use the 80-20 principle. If performance matters, a good rule of thumb is roughly 80% of your volume, easy, 20% hard. That is not a law, it's a guideline, but it's a very useful one. 5, do zone 2 in your primary modality. If you're a runner, run. If you're a rower, row. If you're a Hyrox athlete, use movements that actually transfer. Cycling zone 2 is great, but it will not magically fix your running economy if you never run. 6, pair it with harder work. If you want real performance gains, zone 2 should usually live next to threshold work, intervals, strength, and sport-specific intensity. Easy work builds the base, hard work builds the ceiling. 7, build volume slowly. If you're adding more zone 2, do it gradually. Do not turn aerobic base building into overuse injury with better branding. It just doesn't work. 8, fuel longer sessions. If your zone 2 session goes beyond 60 to 90 minutes, fuel matters. Carbs help you recover faster, train more consistently, and avoid turning every longer session into a depletion contest. Fasted training has a place for some people, but starving yourself is not what makes zone 2 effective. Now, let's talk tracking. What to measure. How easy the pace feels over time. Whether your heart rate stays lower at the same pace. Whether your pace improves at the same heart rate. Whether you can accumulate more volume without feeling wrecked. How well you recover for the next hard session. That's the real test. Now, what to ignore? Single session heart rate fluctuations, daily noise from stress, caffeine, heat, poor sleep, and bad weather. Watch defined zones when they clearly disagree with reality. Comparing your zone 2 pace to someone else's, that's a big no-no. And definitely the idea that sweat proves anything useful. The biggest mistake is fake zone 2. Too hard to be easy. Too easy to drive progression. Too sloppy to repeat consistently. That's the danger zone. It's not zone 2. So here's the one-line takeaway. Zone 2 is not magic. It's one of the best ways to build aerobic fitness without cashing a giant recovery check. And that's the Dummies version. Next week, we keep going, because the next question is obvious. When does recovery science actually help? And when is it just content with steam, ice, and better lighting? Next up, heat, sauna, and cold for dummies. When it helps, when it's overhyped, and when it is just wellness theater. Until then, stay smart, stay aerobic, and stay durable. I'll see you there. This is UltimateBiohacker 10X, and I'm out. Thanks for listening to the Human 5.0 Project. If you found value in today's episode, share it with someone who's ready to elevate their biology. Make sure to follow the show for weekly deep dives into peptides, protocols, devices, lifestyle strategies, and the science of high-performance longevity. Until next time, stay curious, stay optimized, and stay 10X.